Now I'm going to get into how to create your own product. I'm planning to do more videos on this and more step-by-steps, but for now I'm going to cover in broad strokes the steps to create your own product. I highly recommend that you look into this because when you have your own product, compared to being an affiliate, you have a lot more freedom. You have freedom over your website that you're promoting your product on. You have freedom over the sales page that you're selling the product from, and you have a lot more control, obviously, over the product itself. So if you get feedback from your customers or your affiliates that they would prefer to have something else in your product or an addition, you can just go ahead and do that. As opposed to being an affiliate, if you get this kind of feedback, you can't control the product, obviously, because it's not your own. So the first step in creating your own product is to take the research data that you've collected in either doing the private investigator approach or the survey researcher approach, review that survey data and look for the problems that your audience is most struggling with. Okay? Then you take that data and you create the table of contents or the product components outline. So in the case of an ebook, if that's what you're writing, you would create a table of contents. In the case of any kind of other kind of product, whether it be software or online audios or online videos, you would outline the product components, and the components or the table of contents would have to match the needs of your audience, right? What they're most struggling with. So to give you a concrete example, if you were writing an ebook on curing acne, there might be specific things that people who are looking to cure their acne want in an ebook, for example. So it might be a listing of great natural creams that they can use to cure their acne, or things like that, or things that they can do in the meantime before their acne is fully cured. What products can they use to disguise it? So those are the detailed sorts of things that you're looking for in your research data that you would use to create the table of contents or the product components outline. The second thing is once you've decided on sort of the contents or the outline of the product, you would decide on a format. Starting with an ebook is okay, but the perceived value of an ebook is quite low compared to audios or videos or software, for example. So one way to increase the value is what I do. You bundle in audios or videos with your ebook, so it's kind of like a larger bundle of benefits, and the perceived value of that is much higher, so you can charge a higher price. Then once you've decided on the format, then you write your request for proposal, your job description for posting on a freelance website, and that's if you're not going to create the product yourself. Unless you have a ton of time on your hands, I highly recommend you outsource as soon as you can. The biggest mistake I made with my business was not outsourcing sooner. I would have been much further ahead much sooner if I had just delegated a lot of the responsibilities for things that I had done myself, which just kind of bogs you down. There are a bunch of websites. Scriptlance.com is a great freelance website. It's a great place for hiring outsourcers. I use it all the time. Scriptlance sounds like it's only for programmers, but it's not actually. I've hired journalists, I've hired writers, I've hired designers, everything through Scriptlance, and it's fairly inexpensive. It's one of the better priced ones. Elance is another one. Elance has become much more expensive of late, much more expensive than Scriptlance, I think, because a lot of gurus are recommending Elance, and it's become overrun. So, but it's still a great place to get qualified people. Guru.com is even more expensive than Elance in my experience, but you can get some top-notch people there if you need some really good designers or whatnot. Guru is another good place. Rentacoder.com is used by a lot of people. I've never had any luck in finding people through Rentacoder, but it is a hugely popular site, so that's another one to check out. Okay, so those are the three broad strokes of creating your own product. I'm going to come up with a much more detailed plan, a PDF document that will be in the PDF step-by-step PDF section, so you can look out for that soon. Okay, so as I mentioned in a previous slide, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is either creating or choosing an affiliate product that is very cheap, is very inexpensive, and they either lose money or they don't make much money by doing that. So the question is, how can you create an info product that you can charge a lot of money for? And as I alluded to before, you can increase the perceived value of your product, and that's the key. The key word there is perceived value. As I mentioned, online videos often have a higher perceived value than a PDF, even though in some cases the video is easier to make by the creator. So how can you do this? As I mentioned, you can bundle your ebook with audio interviews, videos, software, bonus PDFs. As I'm doing with this course, it can be a consultation. It can be email chats back and forth. Basically, whatever your audience is looking for, that's how you can figure out the bonuses or the extra things that you bundle into your benefits package with the ebook. And maybe you don't even go with an ebook, actually. Maybe you just start with audio interviews or something else, okay? So where can you get these value-added products from? Okay, you can audio interviews you can use to create your the audio interviews that you use to create your ebook, you can bundle in with the ebook itself. So, one of the quickest ways of getting a product done is just to interview somebody, interview an expert or interview a survivor, interview a case study. Okay, and then once you've had the interview done, you use you use the transcripts from the interview to create an ebook. Well, why not bundle the audio interview files in with the ebook itself? So that's one great way of doing it, and I do that myself in my business. Another thing you can do is you can add free videos from the web, like from YouTube. All you have to do is you say, here's a bonus that comes with my information product. I'm going to send you 10 free videos on doing X, right? On how to get a date after you've cured your acne, for example. You can get those for free from YouTube. And the simple fact that you've done the research for the customer and you found the best videos, even though they're free on YouTube, people would appreciate that you've searched for those and that you've gotten the best ones. You've done the research for them. Another thing place you can get value-added products from is private label rights products, or PLR products. PLR products are basically information products like ebooks and software and whatnot that people create, and then they sell the rights to other people. So you can buy the private label rights for a piece of software, for example, which would enable you to then go and give away that software or resell it yourself, actually. And that's a great way of adding value. You can also license products, which is similar to private label rights, but a little bit different in that you're licensing them and you're not actually buying the rights to them. You can also bundle in software. Software is actually fairly easy to get developed these days because there are so many programmers from developing countries who are highly skilled but charge much less than in Western countries. And you can also get software developed fairly cheaply and easily from the sites that I mentioned, like Scriptlance. So here's some sorts of information, some ideas for information, and how you can get that information for your information products. So if your niche is looking for example, authoritative information on some problems that they have, you can interview an expert. Okay, you can hire an interviewer on Elance or Scriptlance, as I mentioned. Get the interviewer to find an expert and do the interview for you. Transcribe the interview and turn it into an ebook plus an expert audio interview, and then take some of the ebook content and turn it into a 7-day e-course that you would put on your website, and you would get people to give you their email address on your website in exchange for this e-course. So here's how it would go. People would come to your website. They would see an opt-in form for the 7-day e-course. They would give their email address and their first name and click submit, and then they would go to a page where you're offering for sale the book, the ebook, along with the audio interviews bundled into one package. And the package would be basically expert answers to whatever questions your audience is looking to have answered. Okay, so here are some examples. If you're in the infertility niche, you can interview a respected medical doctor. Okay. If you're into pet health, interview a veterinarian. If you're in the relationships niche, interview a psychologist on how to improve relationships, for example. Okay, so interviewing an expert is an excellent way of creating content and creating products, because people are often looking for authoritative information. They just obviously don't want Joe Blow creating a product and trying to sell it to them. They're looking for people who are experts. So that's one way. Here's another way that I do in my own health business, Survivor stories. People love Survivor. I guess that's why the TV show Survivor is so popular. But they love hearing stories of triumph of people who have overcome a serious problem, including health problems. So it's quite similar, the process as in the previous one. Hire an interviewer on one of the freelance websites, get the interviewer to find survivors and do the interviews. So you're not actually even doing the finding or the interviewing yourself, unless of course you would like to. Then I mean, if you're into that and if you enjoy that, that's great. But otherwise, you can go to the freelance websites and you can actually hire somebody to do the interviewing and to find the survivors for you. And I've done that before. It works quite well. And then again, you transcribe the interviews, turn it into an ebook and an audio case studies file, and MP3s, for example, and then take some of the ebook content and again turn it into a 7-day e-course. This is like a formula. I have followed this formula successfully, and I know that there are hundreds of information marketers on Clickbank alone who have done this. So here are a couple of examples. How to overcome X health problem, which I know from experience works, and how to get out of debt or climb out of bankruptcy, for example. So you would interview people who have climbed out of bankruptcy and they become millionaires, for example. Or you would interview people who have overcome a health problem through natural means, for example, instead of using drugs. So that's a couple of examples. Okay, so that's it for Module 8. That's developing offers in a nutshell. So we've covered how to find affiliate products, how to develop your own product, and we've also covered the importance of understanding what an offer is. Essentially what it is a bundle of benefits, and you always have to make sure that you're creating a bundle of benefits that is of perceived higher value than what you're asking your customer to pay for it. So next steps, go into the homework section and complete the developing offers worksheet. I put down 4 hours here for a time commitment. Might not take you that long. It depends on how good your niche research has been. But anyway, that's kind of a rule of thumb. So that's it for Module 8, and I'll see you on the next video.